Let me tell you something about me and my mom, because today is mom, not other things. I was the fourth born child. In our family. There was Mary, the nurse who spoke. There was Samuel Otieno, who passed on, his wife Juliana, we saw here. There was Professor Anyang Nyong'O, James Omondi Nyong'O, whose son has just spoken here, and whose other son who spoke later, and their grandchildren, his grandchildren are also here. So I was fourth. But all my siblings, those three, had been born in Maseno Mission Hospital. And my mom had a good time giving birth to them. But for some reason, I was in a hurry to come into this world. And one night, my mother started having birth pangs, and she realized she needed a nurse, but there was not one nearby. So she called an old woman in the village to come and deliver me. This old woman didn't do a very good job. So she delivered me, but left the placenta inside, and she departed. So my mom and I were almost dying when they sent for a nurse friend of ours who was a very good friend of ours. They were in school together. That lady had managed to be a nurse when my mom didn't. And she was called Mrs. Rondo. And they called each other Daima. The Rondos must be somewhere here. Jadisi, are you there? Okay, maybe he's the one shouting. So Mama Rosa came and actually removed the placenta and then took her to Maseno Hospital. And both Mom and I survived. So Mom always reminded me whenever I was becoming big-headed and didn't want to do something. And I'll say it in Luo because it is more expressive. Which means, my son, you almost killed me. You must listen to me. I felt guilty, so I never refused to be sent. But that cost me a lot, because she was sending me so often. And when all our kids went to Ngea to go to school there, it is me who stayed at home. A story I remembered very bitterly because I also wanted to go with the others. But I ended up spending 4 years with Mom, going to Ndiru school, walking up and down every day, milking the cows in the morning, milking them in the evening, making Mom cows. But the end result is that I got a lot of attention of my mother when the rest were away. During the holidays, I would go to Ngea, stay with the father. When they are here, I get all the attention of my father. During school days, I would come here, go to Ndiru, get all the attention of my mother. So at the best of the both worlds. So these ones, they thought they were privileged. I was much more privileged. Now, I remember also, mother was a farmer. Again, about the middle of the 50s, she decided, in fact, it was not the middle of the 50s, early 50s, between 53 and 55 there. My father was in the army. In Nanyuki during the Mau Mau, she was ministering to the souls of those who are fighting our people. You know, the soldiers and the Mau Mau in the forest. But my mother, and Nanyuki was very dangerous, so my mother could not go and visit him there. We could not go and visit him there, so father was away there and we are only at home with mother. Mother had to do the best to make sure the family survives. So she decided to grow what were called English vegetables. Cabbages, onions, cauliflower, you name them, French beans. And then we would walk 12 kilometers with my brother Agre to go and sell those vegetables to the white men in Maseno. And you know, you'd stand at the gate, which was about 100 meters away from the main house, knock the gate for the white woman to come, but you would send the shamba boy. And then the shamba boy would collect the vegetables, take to the white woman, and then she offered you the price of her choice. So you didn't bargain. Very unfair. But then Mama said, what we get in return is 10 cents for taking vegetables there, which we loved because 10 cents was very difficult to get. On the way back home, we would stop in Kipasi, buy chapatis, drink tea. So we loved that 12 kilometers journey to and fro to sell these vegetables in Maseno. I still remember that very, very good, very well. Now, another thing I remember about mother was that when she was a leader of maendeleo ya wanawake, Mama Phoebe talked about it here. She used to travel to Kombewa with her singer sewing machine. You know that one? Hand one. To teach women how to sew. And when she comes home, they would also come home, and she would sew all our clothes and so on. But I remember one day I was going to Ndiru. I was very young, a little boy about 10. And I was traveling to Ndiru to and from. And Senior Chief Melchizedek Nindo, whose home is very near here, he used to go to Kombewa, and he gave my mother a lift usually. One day I made the mistake as Senior Chief Melchizedek Nindo was coming back from Kombewa with my mom, and I was tired on the hills of Nyakanyakeno there. And I waved the chief down to give me a ride. The chief agreed, and I was given a ride, and we were dropped at home with Mama. And then Mama waited until I took off my school uniform. I was just about to put on my lepi watch. You know lepi watch? The clothes of the home, eh? I was naked, just about to put on those ones. She descended me with a cane and caned me thoroughly. Na modo yuak. Can I translate in English? I drank weeping thoroughly. In the end, she told me, never ever again stop the chief. You must walk like other children to and from school, whether I'm in that pickup or not. So I obeyed the Mama. This is why you people must obey me now. And never stop them again after that. Now, Mama and Baba, these guys here think that Mama was not a disciplinarian. They think it is Baba who was a disciplinarian. Me, I lived with her alone, and I know Mama was a very strict disciplinarian. She didn't stand any nonsense. But she also rewarded good behavior. She rewarded good behavior. Like when she noticed that I came from school, milked the cows, made her coffee in the evening, and then sat down and listened to her stories. The next day, very early in the morning, she would make me a good package of Nyong'O to take with me to school, because we never came home for lunch. I would find Nyong'O put in a bag, I go to school. That was my reward for being a good boy. I suppose I can continue to be a good boy in others' quarters. Now, around 1955, I remember this very clearly. Mother had some ulcers, and she went to Maseno Hospital and she operated on, and she came back home. The operation was done by Dr. Leach and Dr. Green. I think, Raila, you remember those doctors in Maseno. And she came home, and we thought, well, if Dr. Leach and Dr. Green have treated my mother, why is she not getting well? She was in a room there at home for about a month. Agri and I were very scared because we thought we were going to lose our mom. But Mom recovered, and that actually is the origin of her being very strict about her meals. My mama here, whenever she went for Lal Walk or fellowship, or she went for whatever, or funeral, she would carry her own meal. She never used to eat meals cooked for everybody. Maybe that's why she has survived up to 99. I'm not telling you not to eat today, no. Please go and eat. There's plenty of food. And you are not my mother anyway, so. Now, Mama, I want to tell something about the church, because this is very important. Around 1958, 57 there, 57, 58, the Anglican church was almost splitting. It was shaken by a movement called Johera, Church of Christ in Africa. I remember Bishop Matthew Ajoga, who was a very good friend of my father, used to come home and they would fellowship until 3 in the morning. Ajoga trying to convince my father to cross over with him to the Church of Christ in Africa, and so that they abandoned the Anglican church. Let me tell you something. It's my mother who stood firm and told my father, no. If something is wrong with the Anglican church, or what was called CMS, whatever it was called then, let us stay inside and reform it. We must reform this. We must Africanize it. Now, here at school Ratta, my mother had started with so much to start the primary school. Whenever we went to school in the morning, the signboard would read, Ratta Primary School, CMS. We come in the evening, Ratta Primary School, Church of Christ in Africa. The signboards were changing every day. And there was a church over there which was the ACK, no, the CMS church. So my mother said, look, let's leave this church here to these people. Let's go and find another church over there. And she persuaded a woman here to give some land to build an Anglican church over here and leave the other church for the Church of Christ in Africa. He said, provided we safeguard the school, because the school was registered by me, a church is not a problem. We can put it anywhere. That was the wisdom of my mother. So you people sitting behind me wearing those things, you would not be having this church today except for my mother. Makofi kwake basi. Now, lastly, when I was elected to politics, not really lastly, last but one, my mother was my biggest supporter. I'll tell you something, that was 1992 when we were campaigning. One day my mom came to me and gave me 20,000 shillings campaign contribution. That's like 200,000 shillings today. Here was a lady, I was working and I used to give her money. She took money from her own sale of crops and contributed 20,000 shillings to me. I was very humbled and I was pleased. But she was also my very regular counselor. If you think I'm in doubt, I'm telling a lie. In this audience, there are many politicians who have slept in my house and have eaten meals in my mother's table. Raila is here, Orengo is here. Charity Ngilu there was a very good friend of my mother. She still remember Ugali ya Wimbi, Kwon Bell, and a lot. And we have here Omar Hassan, I think I saw him here. People like Itobu Manyara, people like PK Miruri, people like Paul Mwite. Most of them, all those people were in the second liberation. We used to come here with them and have meals at my mother's place. I remember one day, Raila, when we toured the whole of Kisumu Rural in one day and addressed 12 rallies. My mother heard about that. I said, when those young men are here again, bring them to my house. And I made sure that the Farah Malims, the Charity Ngilus, the Mukisa Kituis, at one point or the other, had a meal in my mother's house in politics. And she was a very good supporter of theirs everywhere we went. Now, I don't think I would really do a good justice to my memory of my mother, if I don't say something that she told me in 1964 when I was in Form 3 at Alliance High School. She was bithering a lot. You know what bithering a lot is? Bithering a lot. You should know those things. That's a very simple language. Bithering a lot is kind of picking vegetables, eh? You go to the garden, you bring vegetables, they are not properly separated, so you separate the stalks from the main vegetables. It's called bithering. It should answer the English language. Bithering a lot. My mother was bithering a lot there, and she called me, come. There's something I want to tell you. I want to ask you a question. Who among you 4 sons of your father is going to take your father's profession? So I looked at my mom. I said, me, count me out. She said, why? I said, the life father is leading. Me, I don't think I can lead it. Riding a bicycle all over the place, preaching, and then when you go to church, they give 10 cents for sadaka. Hiyo ni ngumu. I said, you try the other sons. You know something? Since 1964, until the time my mom died, she never raised that issue with me. But now that she's lying over there, I want to promise her, and listen to this very carefully, that I will go to St. Paul's University. It used to be called St. Paul's Bible School, where my father trained with Reverend Hospita Magu, his friend, Bishop from Mombasa, what is his name again? Bishop Alan Madoka, his son Mazden Madoka, we are very good friends. Those 3 were very good friends. My father always talked about them. I am going to St. Paul's University to do a degree in theology one of these days, before it is too late. I'm going to discover my Alan Madokas and Sospita Magus, although my mom is gone, but now her replacement is over there, Juliana and Dorothy. They've already been inducted into Mothers Union. So I'm following to honor my mother in the degree in theology. And in that regard, I want to say something last. Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, the BBI people were in Kisumu recently, and I gave them my testimony of what I think should happen in the referendum. Me, I think that choice is very simple. Don't complicate this thing. Just give them two questions. Do you want a presidential system of government, or do you want a parliamentary system? Simple. The other things will follow. But if you confuse it with structures of devolution, I don't know what. But together with the parliamentary system, let us have proportional representation. To avoid this first past the goalpost thing. This is what has brought a lot of problems in our country. I think this country would have been much better as early as '92 if we had a parliamentary system of government like we started at independence. Why we abandoned that one is historical. Now, my nephew has just said something about vision. Seeing something that others have not seen. Charting a path that has not been trodden by others. And making sure that by following that path, you deliver people to Canaan. To me, I think that is what the daringness that my father and mother gave us. My mother charted a path for the church when they were deciding what to do during the Church of Christ in Africa. I said, abandon struggling over this church here. Go there. Have a new church there, and let us protect the school. And people obeyed. This church is here up to this very day. That was a vision. Ama sivyo? Ama sivyo? Basi. Hata sisi tufuate hiyo vision of a new Kenya. Parliamentary system of government, proportional representation, because the presidential system does not work in a society like ours, which is multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-everything. Does not work in other societies, even parliamentary like India, is like us. Even Canada had those problems. Even Malaysia, those problems. Singapore, those problems. But they went parliamentary. And if you look at their history, they have developed very fast. Even little Mauritius next to us here. So, examples are many. And we don't need to repeat them. So my plea, as my mother goes to heaven, to tell Jesus she's left a referendum behind. Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Hallelujah. Asanteni sana.